I wouldn't know, sir. What money? The silence that followed could have powered our backup generators for a week. Every head in that executive conference room turned toward me, and I could see Lance Williams's smug grin freeze halfway across his face like a machine hitting an emergency stop. Let me back up and tell you how I got to that moment. My name is Gary Hoffman. I'm 51 years old, and for the past 23 years, I've been keeping Steel Point Manufacturing running smooth. Plant Operations Manager sounds fancy, but really it means I'm the guy they call when 200 workers need their equipment working right and their paychecks coming on time. The thing about my job is when everything's running smooth, nobody notices you exist. But when something breaks down or someone gets hurt, suddenly everyone knows your name. I preferred the invisible part, honestly. Less meetings, more actual work, and a steady paycheck that was helping me put my daughter Sophie through her junior year at Valley High. Sophie's a good kid, smart as a whip, planning to study industrial engineering next year. After the divorce 3 years back, it's just been me and her, and I was determined to give her every opportunity I never had. That was before Lance Williams showed up about a year ago with his MBA from some East Coast school and his buzzwords about operational efficiency and legacy cost optimization. The guy came in like he was going to revolutionize everything, talking about lean manufacturing and cost hygiene like he'd invented the concepts himself. From day one, Lance made it clear he thought guys like me were dead weight. Legacy management, he called us in meetings, like we were outdated equipment that needed replacing. Never mind that I was the one who prevented that major equipment failure 3 years back. That would have shut us down for weeks, or that I'd been keeping our safety record clean, while he was probably still learning what OSHA stood for. What Lance didn't know, what he never bothered to ask about, was my contract situation. See, back in 2022, we had a major production crisis that almost cost us 2 big automotive contracts. A gear manufacturing line went down right before our biggest delivery deadline, and if we didn't get it running in 48 hours, we'd lose millions in penalties. I worked 36 straight hours with my team, sleeping on the plant floor, ordering parts from 3 different suppliers and basically rebuilding that entire line from scratch. We made the deadline with 6 hours to spare. That's when Precision Manufacturing tried to poach me, offering 30% more pay, full benefits relocation package to North Carolina. Steel Point panicked. They couldn't afford to lose their operations manager right after a crisis that had already made the industry trade papers, so they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Base salary stayed the same, but they added a structured performance bonus system and enhanced pension matching as a retention incentive. $4,800 monthly performance bonus for maintaining 0 lost time accidents and hitting production targets. $1,200 monthly pension matching. All legal, all documented, all signed by CEO Roger Caldwell himself. The agreement was solid, had to be since their lawyer probably charged more per hour than most people make in a week. It was supposed to start hitting my account every month, like clockwork beginning January 2023, but it never did. At first, I figured it was just typical corporate bureaucracy. New payroll system, transition delays, you know how it goes. Then we got a new controller in March. Then finance restructured their processes in June. But here's the thing, Lance didn't arrive until August 2023. By then, I'd already been missing my bonus payments for 8 months. So when he started talking about optimizing legacy compensation, I should have paid more attention. But I was swamped with summer production schedules, Sophie's college prep stuff, and a dozen other fires to put out. Every month I'd check my account and see the same thing. Base salary, standard benefits, nothing extra. I kept meaning to follow up with HR, but honestly, the missing money wasn't breaking us. Sophie's tuition was manageable. We had the house paid off, and I had bigger problems than chasing down paperwork. That was my mistake. In manufacturing, paperwork is everything. Meanwhile, Lance was having the time of his life playing efficiency expert. The man loved spreadsheets more than most people love their families. Every week he'd have finance pull new reports, analyze different cost centers, find new ways to make the numbers look better on paper. He'd walk around with printouts, highlighting random cells, making notes in the margins, like he was performing surgery instead of just moving money around. And he was loud about it too, constantly talking in meetings about discovering inefficiencies and eliminating redundant spend. But what really caught my attention was when he started making changes to our safety protocols. Nothing major at first, just small adjustments. Training sessions got shortened from 8 hours to 6. Equipment inspections moved from weekly to bi-weekly. Maintenance windows reduced from 4 hours to 3. When I questioned him about it, Lance would pull out his charts showing how these optimizations were saving the company thousands per month. Gary, he'd say with that condescending smile, we need to think strategically about resource allocation. Every dollar we save on operational overhead is a dollar we can invest in growth initiatives. That's when I started noticing fragments of his analysis scattered around conference room tables, spreadsheets with employee codes, salary breakdowns, performance metrics I didn't recognize. One day in November, walking past conference room B on my way to get coffee, I caught a glimpse of something that made me stop cold. There was my employee code, SP147, highlighted in yellow, and right next to it in Lance's handwriting. Legacy compensation, $6,000 per month recurring optimization target. I stared at that paper for about 30 seconds before moving on. $6,000 a month. That was exactly what my performance bonus and pension matching should have been adding up to. But according to my bank account, that money had been going nowhere for almost 11 months now. Or maybe it was going somewhere, just not to me. That night, I went home and pulled out my laptop. If Lance was tracking my supposed $6,000 monthly payments as an optimization target, then somebody somewhere thought that money was being paid out. I needed to find out who, and more importantly, where it was actually going. I started paying closer attention after that. Not obvious attention. I'm not stupid, but the kind of careful observation that 20 years in manufacturing teaches you, and what I saw wasn't pretty. Lance had been building spreadsheets that showed all kinds of legacy compensation line items for senior staff, performance bonuses, retention incentives, enhanced benefits packages. On paper, Steel Point was spending a fortune keeping experienced managers happy. In reality, most of us hadn't seen a dime of it. That's when Rita Parker from finance came up to me near the break room. Good worker, been with the company 5 years, working her way up through the accounting department. She looked nervous. "Hey, Gary," she said, glancing around like she was worried someone might overhear. "I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but your compensation profile is flagged in the quarterly review. Something about cost-centered drain for performance bonuses that Lance says aren't justified by current productivity metrics." I thanked her and kept walking, but inside I was starting to get angry. Cost-centered drain, current productivity metrics. I was the guy managing operations that produced $40 million in revenue every quarter. If that wasn't justified productivity, I'd like to know what was. That night, I went home and dug out my original retention agreement from 2022. 3 pages of legal language signed by me, witnessed by HR Director Helen Morrison, and approved by CEO Roger Caldwell. Clear as day. $4,800 monthly performance bonus, $1,200 monthly pension matching. Effective January 2023. By November 2023, that was 11 months of payments. $66,000 in missing compensation, but that was just the beginning. I pulled out my laptop and started doing what I do best, following process trails. If Steel Point's payroll system was supposed to be sending me $6,000 a month but wasn't, then somewhere in their network there had to be a record of where that money was actually going. Now, I want to be clear about something. I wasn't hacking into company systems or doing anything illegal. As operations manager, I had legitimate access to financial transaction logs for budget oversight purposes. It was part of my job to track unusual spending patterns and verify cost allocations. I just hadn't been looking at my own compensation before. What I found made me sick to my stomach. Every month since January 2023, there was a transaction for $6,000 routed from the general payroll account. My employee code was right there in the transaction reference. But instead of going to my direct deposit account, the money was being diverted to something called Operations Discretionary Fund, Strategic Resource Allocation. The approval signature on every single transaction, Lance Williams. I sat there staring at my screen for about 10 minutes, just trying to process what I was looking at. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't some payroll glitch or system error. This was systematic fraud, documented in the company's own financial records, with a clear paper trail leading straight back to Lance. But it got worse. I started digging deeper into this operations discretionary fund and found it wasn't just my money. 3 other senior managers, guys who'd been with the company for years, had similar diversions. Dean Foster from maintenance had been missing his safety bonus payments. Maria Santos from quality control was missing her certification incentives. Tony Reeves, our union rep, was missing his negotiation performance bonuses. In total, Lance had been skimming about $18,000 a month from senior management staff for the past 11 months. That's close to $200,000 in stolen wages, all sitting in an account he controlled. But that wasn't even the worst part. I pulled up the spending logs from this discretionary fund and found something that made my blood run cold. Lance had been using our money to fund budget cuts that put workers at risk. Look at this. In March, he canceled a $12,000 safety training program and used the money for a strategic consulting initiative that turned out to be a golf weekend in Scottsdale. In June, he delayed $8,000 worth of equipment maintenance and spent it on efficiency analysis software that nobody had ever seen. In August, right after he arrived, he cut our emergency response drill budget by $15,000 and used it for what he called operational optimization consulting. I found receipts for that one dinner meetings at restaurants that cost more per meal than most of our guys make in a day. The really clever part was how he'd structured it. On paper, Steel Point was still paying out all the retention bonuses and performance incentives they'd promised. The money was leaving the right accounts. The transactions were properly documented. Everything looked clean from an accounting perspective. It's just that instead of going to the managers who'd earned it, the payments were being optimized into Lance's operational budget. And what was he doing with that money? Creating a paper trail that made him look like a cost-cutting genius while actually putting our workers in danger. Meanwhile, I was having trouble covering Sophie's SAT prep courses, and 3 other experienced managers were probably wondering why their promised bonuses had never materialized. That's when I realized this wasn't just about money anymore. This was about respect, about honoring commitments, about the difference between people who actually keep the plant running and people who think they can optimize their way around basic honesty. I spent the next 3 weeks quietly documenting everything: transaction logs, approval signatures, fund transfers, spending authorizations. I made copies of my original retention agreement, email confirmations from HR, even the meeting notes where the board had approved enhanced compensation packages for senior management staff. But I also started documenting the safety issues, and that's where it got really scary. Equipment maintenance logs showing delayed repairs that should have been immediate. Safety training records showing canceled sessions for crane operators and chemical handlers. Incident reports showing near-miss accidents that should have triggered comprehensive reviews, but somehow got filed away as minor operational variances. In September, we had a hydraulic line burst on the main press that could have seriously injured someone. The maintenance log showed it was due for inspection 2 weeks earlier, but the work order had been canceled to optimize resource allocation. In October, one of our quality inspectors nearly got hit by a forklift because the safety mirror at that intersection had been broken for 3 weeks and the replacement order was stuck in budget review. I started taking pictures with my phone, not of anything classified, just of maintenance schedules, safety inspection reports, training attendance sheets. The kind of documentation that any operations manager would normally keep track of. By the time I was done, I had a complete trail showing exactly how Lance had been operating his little scheme. Every stolen dollar, every delayed safety measure, every fraudulent approval signature. But more importantly, I had evidence that his cost optimization was putting real people at real risk. The question was what to do with it. I could have gone straight to OSHA, but that would have meant investigations, fines, probably bad publicity that might hurt the company's reputation. Despite everything, I didn't want to damage Steel Point or put jobs at risk. I just wanted to stop the theft and get paid what I was owed. So I decided to handle it the way I handled most problems, with documentation and patience. I scheduled a meeting with Roger Caldwell, the CEO, under the pretense of discussing operational improvements for the next fiscal year. Standard stuff, nothing that would attract attention, but Lance had other plans. That Wednesday, Lance called an emergency quarterly efficiency meeting. All management mandatory attendance, big presentation about optimization achievements and cost reduction improvements. The email went out at 4 p.m. with 12 hours notice, which should have been my first clue that something wasn't right. The meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. Thursday morning in the main conference room, 4 hours before my scheduled meeting with Roger. Perfect timing if you wanted to make sure the CEO heard your version of events first. I showed up that Thursday morning knowing exactly what Lance was planning to do. He was going to present his cost-cutting measures as a major success story, take credit for optimizing legacy compensation structures, and probably recommend eliminating several senior management positions as part of his efficiency initiative. What he didn't know was that I'd spent those 3 weeks preparing for exactly this scenario. I walked into that conference room carrying a simple manila folder and my phone set to record. Nothing fancy, nothing dramatic, just the kind of documentation that 20 years in manufacturing had taught me to always keep handy. The conference room was packed. All the senior managers were there. Dean Foster from maintenance, Maria Santos from quality control, Tony Reeves representing the union, Helen Morrison from HR, and of course Roger Caldwell looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. About 15 people total, all waiting to hear Lance's big presentation. Lance was already up front when I found a seat in the back. He was in full presentation mode, clicking through slides about cost reductions and operational improvements, talking about how he'd identified significant inefficiencies in legacy compensation structures and implemented strategic resource reallocation to maximize shareholder value. Over the past 11 months, Lance announced with obvious pride, we've successfully optimized nearly $200,000 in redundant compensation costs while maintaining full operational capacity. This represents a 15% improvement in management overhead efficiency. The whole room was nodding along like he was delivering gospel truth instead of basically confessing to systematic theft. Then he got to the slide I'd been waiting for. Senior Management Legacy Compensation Analysis. Lance announced, clicking to a slide that showed a breakdown of what he called excessive legacy staff compensation packages. There it was, right up on the big screen for everyone to see. My employee code, my job title, and a line item showing $6,000 monthly in redundant performance incentives and pension optimization opportunities. Take Gary Hoffman, for example, Lance said, and I swear he looked directly at me when he said it. Operations manager with legacy compensation structures that frankly don't align with current market realities or operational needs. He clicked to the next slide, which showed a cost-benefit analysis that would have been impressive if it wasn't complete fiction. According to Lance's numbers, my legacy compensation package was costing the company $72,000 annually above standard market rates for similar positions. I mean, he said with that smug grin of his, isn't $4,800 a month in performance bonuses plus $1,200 in enhanced pension matching excessive for basic operations management when we could restructure similar functions for a fraction of the cost? I could see Dean Foster shifting uncomfortably in his seat. Maria Santos was frowning at her notes. Even Tony Reeves looked confused, probably wondering why he was hearing about compensation packages he'd never seen in any union negotiations. The room was dead quiet. A few people were taking notes. I could see Roger Caldwell in the front row nodding thoughtfully like he was seriously considering whether his most experienced operations manager was actually worth keeping around. That's when I stood up, slowly, calmly, no drama. Just a 51-year-old guy who'd had enough of watching someone lie about money that was supposed to be helping pay for his daughter's future. I wouldn't know, sir. I said loud enough for everyone to hear. What money? You could have heard a pin drop in that room. Lance just froze there up front, his finger still pointing at the slide, his mouth hanging open like a fish out of water. The color started draining from his face as he realized what I'd just said. Excuse me? He finally managed, his voice cracking slightly. I walked to the front of the room, pulling out my manila folder. You said I'm getting $6,000 a month in performance bonuses and pension matching, but according to my bank records, I haven't received a single extra payment in 11 months. The room was getting very quiet now, and I could feel the attention shift. People were sitting up straighter, paying closer attention. I opened the folder and pulled out my retention agreement. This is my signed compensation addendum from 2022, approved by CEO Roger Caldwell and witnessed by HR Director Helen Morrison. It clearly states $400-800 monthly performance bonus and $1,200-200 monthly pension matching, effective January 2023. Roger was leaning forward now, suddenly very interested in what I had to say. Helen Morrison was reaching for her tablet, probably pulling up personnel files. This, I continued, pulling out a second document, is my bank statement summary for the past 11 months. Base salary, standard benefits, no additional payments. 0 performance bonuses. 0 pension matching. I placed both documents on the table in front of Roger, then pulled out my phone and set it down next to them. And this contains recorded conversations confirming that my compensation profile was flagged for cost center drain for bonuses that apparently I'm receiving but somehow never actually get. Lance was starting to look pale. Now wait just a minute, he started, but his voice sounded shaky now. No, I said calmly. You wait, because I have one more thing to show everyone. I pulled out the final document from my folder. A printed summary of transaction logs from SteelPoint's own financial systems. These are payment authorization records from our own payroll system, showing $6,000 monthly transactions tagged to my employee code, approved by Efficiency Director Lance Williams, and routed to an account called Operations Discretionary Fund Strategic Resource Allocation. The silence in that room was deafening. Roger was reading the documents I'd placed in front of him, his face getting redder by the second. Helen Morrison was frantically scrolling through something on her tablet. So my question, Mr. Williams, I said, turning to face Lance directly, is simple. If SteelPoint has been paying out my retention bonuses every month for the past 11 months, and you've been approving those payments, where exactly has that $66,000 been going? Lance opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. Finally, he said, there must be some kind of accounting error. An accounting error? I interrupted. For 11 consecutive months with your digital signature on every single transaction. That's when Tony Reeves stood up. Hold on a minute, he said, his union representative instincts kicking in. Gary, are you telling me the company's been stealing from you? Roger stood up too. Helen, I need you to pull complete payroll records for Gary immediately, and I want a full audit of this discretionary fund Lance mentioned. Already on it, Helen said, her fingers flying across her tablet. And Roger, we might have a bigger problem. I'm seeing similar transaction patterns for at least 3 other senior managers. That's when other people started speaking up. Dean Foster from maintenance was the first to speak up. Wait, I was supposed to get safety bonuses starting last year. Are you telling me that money's been going somewhere else? Maria Santos looked confused. My certification incentives from the Quality Improvement Program. I never saw those either. Tony Reeves was pulling out his phone now. I need to check my notes from the contract negotiations. We specifically bargained for performance bonuses for union leadership. Within 5 minutes, it became clear that Lance hadn't just been stealing from me. He'd been systematically diverting retention bonuses, performance incentives, and safety premiums from every senior manager in the plant. The total amount was approaching $200,000. Roger looked like he was about to have a stroke. His face had gone from red to almost purple. Lance, step outside now. Helen, call legal immediately. Gary, I need you to stay after this meeting. But Lance wasn't done yet. You could see him calculating, trying to figure out how to spin this situation in his favor. Now look, he said, raising his voice slightly, these are complex compensation structures that require strategic oversight. The discretionary fund was established to optimize resource allocation across multiple operational priorities. Stop talking, Roger said quietly, but there was something in his voice that made everyone pay attention. Just stop talking right now. Tony Reeves wasn't having any of it. Strategic oversight? You mean stealing from working people? Roger, this is a clear violation of our collective bargaining agreement. The union's going to want a full investigation. Helen Morrison looked up from her tablet. Roger, I can pull the complete audit within an hour, but if these transaction records are accurate, we're looking at potential criminal charges. Wire fraud, embezzlement, probably others. That's when Lance finally realized how much trouble he was in. The color drained completely out of his face, and he started backing toward the door. I think there's been a misunderstanding, he said, his voice shaky now. I should probably consult with my own attorney before we continue this discussion. Good idea, Roger said, but you're not leaving this building until security arrives. And that's when I knew it was over. But before security could get there, something else happened that made this whole situation even better. Helen's tablet started beeping with an urgent alert. Oh no, she said, looking at her screen. We've got an OSHA inspector at the front gate. Surprise inspection, effective immediately. Roger went completely white. OSHA? Today? Why today? Anonymous complaint about safety violations and delayed maintenance. Helen read from her screen. They're specifically asking about hydraulic systems, forklift safety, and training compliance. I watched Lance's face as the reality hit him. Not only was he about to be arrested for embezzlement, but OSHA was about to discover all the safety shortcuts he'd been taking with our stolen money. Tony Reeves was already on his phone. I'm calling the union office. We need our safety representative here now. He looked at Roger. And Roger, just so we're clear, the union's going to cooperate fully with any investigation, but we expect complete transparency about compensation theft. The OSHA inspector arrived about 20 minutes later. Professional woman in her 40s, clipboard in hand, looking like she meant business. Maria Santos from Quality Control volunteered to give her the plant tour, while Roger dealt with the Lance situation. Security escorted Lance to a conference room where he waited for 3 hours while lawyers and accountants picked apart every transaction he'd authorized since joining the company. When they were done, they walked him to the parking lot and told him not to come back. His final act of desperation was trying to claim the discretionary fund was a legitimate cost-saving measure. According to him, he'd been optimizing compensation inefficiencies by consolidating payments into a single fund that could be strategically deployed for maximum operational impact. The problem with that story was the paper trail. Every dollar he'd stolen had been spent on personal expenses disguised as business costs. The golf weekend in Scottsdale. The expensive dinners that never produced any actual business results. The consulting fees paid to his former MBA classmates who never delivered any reports. By Friday, SteelPoint had filed a criminal complaint with the FBI. By Monday, Lance Williams's brief career as a corporate efficiency expert was front-page news in the local business journal. Not the kind of publicity that helps you find your next job, but my real satisfaction came from what happened next. The OSHA inspection found multiple violations that could have resulted in serious injuries, delayed maintenance on hydraulic systems, missing safety equipment, inadequate training documentation, all directly traceable to Lance's budget cuts. Instead of fines and negative publicity, Roger turned it into a positive. He hired an external safety consultant, implemented a comprehensive maintenance program, and used Lance's theft as an opportunity to completely overhaul our safety protocols. Roger called me into his office the following Tuesday for what he called a strategic restructuring conversation. The man looked like he'd aged 5 years in 1 week, but he seemed determined to make things right. "Gary," he said, "I owe you an apology. And more than that, I owe you a solution." He handed me a check for $66,000. My full 11 months of missing compensation, with no deductions, no legal fees, no bureaucratic delays, just the money I'd earned, paid in full. "That's the back pay," he said, "but we're also implementing immediate changes to prevent this from happening again." Those changes included a new position, Regional Safety Director, a title that basically meant I'd be the guy making sure nobody could ever pull another Lance Williams on SteelPoint's workforce. The job came with a 35% salary increase, enhanced benefits, and direct reporting to the board of directors. Plus, they honored my original retention agreement going forward, with automated payments that couldn't be intercepted or optimized by middle management. And here's the best part, they extended the same protection to all senior staff, no more discretionary funds, no more strategic resource allocation, just honest pay for honest work. The other managers got their money too. Dean Foster received $48,000 for his missing safety bonuses. Maria Santos got $32,000 for her certification incentives. Tony Reeves collected $54,000 for his negotiation performance bonuses. Total payout from SteelPoint, $200,000 in stolen wages, plus penalties and legal fees. Sophie finished her junior year without any financial stress about college applications. With the settlement money, we could afford to apply to any school she wanted without worrying about student loans. The kid's been talking about industrial engineering with a focus on workplace safety. Apparently, she was impressed by how documentation and persistence took down someone who thought he was smarter than the system. As for Lance, the last I heard, he was working as a business development associate for a small consulting firm in another state. Different industry, lower pay, probably no discretionary funds to manage. His LinkedIn profile still lists his MBA, but there's a notable gap where his SteelPoint experience used to be. I kept one thing from the whole experience. That manila folder I'd carried into the meeting, not because I needed evidence anymore, but because it reminded me of something important. Sometimes the quiet guy who actually knows how things work has more power than the loud guy who thinks he can optimize his way around basic honesty. These days, my new office overlooks the same parking lot where security escorted Lance to his car that last day. Every morning when I arrive for work, I remember that moment when someone tried to steal from hard-working people and discovered that stealing from the wrong guy can end your career. The union negotiated stronger protection contracts based on what happened to us. Other plants in the company implemented similar safeguards, and OSHA used our case as a model for how to handle anonymous safety complaints. They say documentation is boring, but I learned something better. Proper documentation with timestamps is justice. Corporate bullies count on you staying quiet and invisible, but quiet doesn't mean powerless. It just means you have time to gather evidence before you speak up. And when you finally do speak up, you better make sure you have the receipts. Sometimes the guys who actually build things know more about running a business than the guys with fancy degrees who just move numbers around on spreadsheets. And when you've got 23 years of keeping the lights on, that's worth more than any MBA when it comes to knowing what's really going on.